Ever feel like the world's changing faster than you can keep up? Buckle up, because today we're diving into a huge shift in global finance that you might not even know is happening.
That's fascinating.
It's all about something called BRICS pay.
A potential seismic shift.
Yeah, a potential seismic shift in how money moves around the world.
And it's coming from a place you might not expect, the global south.
Right, and our deep dive today comes from this article I found on Data-Driven Investor.
Okay.
It's called, and I love this title, "Is the Majority of the World Population Exiting the Old Financial System?"
I mean,
They don't mince words, do they?
no, they don't.
So what is this BRICS pay? What's the big idea?
Well, to understand that, we got to kind of back up and look at the bigger picture.
That global south, you're saying?
Exactly. See, 88% of the world's population lives in the global south.
That's a huge chunk of humanity.
It is. And the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, well, they're expected to outpace the G7 in global trade by 2026.
Wow, really?
Yeah, according to Ernst Young India. So that's economic power shifting.
A massive power shift, and BRICS pay is right at the heart of it.
Okay, so tell me, how does it work?
So the article breaks it down into three key parts.
All right, lay it on me.
First, you've got BRICS pay QR for like everyday retail payments. Think scanning a QR code at the coffee shop.
Like we see in a lot of places already.
Exactly, but on a global scale.
Mm.
It's modeled after India's Unified Payments Interface, UPI.
Oh, UPI. I've heard about that. Isn't that the system where
Yeah, where even street vendors in India are using it.
it's incredibly accessible?
Yeah, and it's been wildly successful.
So BRICS Pay QR is trying to replicate that success.
Exactly, across all of the BRICS nations
Yeah.
and potentially beyond.
Okay, so that's for everyday purchases. What about bigger transactions?
All right, so that brings us to part two. BRICS pay B2B.
Business to business.
You got it.
Makes sense.
So now imagine businesses in Brazil and South Africa, for example, doing deals directly with each other.
Okay.
But here's the kicker. They're bypassing the traditional SWIFT system,
Ah, now that's interesting because SWIFT is...
heavily influenced by Western countries.
Exactly. So this bypass is a pretty big deal.
Huge.
Could shield businesses from things like sanctions or the volatility of the U.S. dollar.
Exactly. It's about creating a system that operates independently.
All right, I'm hooked. What's the third piece of this puzzle?
This is where it gets really interesting. It's called BRICS Clear, and it's specifically for government-to-government transactions.
Oh, wow. So this is going head-to-head with the established financial order.
It's a direct challenge.
So what are the motivations behind all of this? Why are they doing this?
Well, the article quotes one expert saying that BRICS pay is designed to bring autonomy and stability to BRICS economies, insulated from the whims of the Western powers.
Strong words.
No kidding, right?
There's a clear desire for more control, more independence.
It's like a declaration of financial independence.
And it's not just talk, right? I mean,
Oh, no, not at all.
some pretty high-profile figures are backing this up.
Yeah, like Russia's finance minister, Anton Silanov. He's been very vocal about needing an alternative to the current Western-controlled system.
Right. He's been pretty outspoken.
Yeah, and he's not alone.
This reflects a broader sentiment, a feeling of being fed up.
A feeling that the old rules just don't work for them anymore.
All right, so we've got the what and the why of BRICS pay, but will it actually work? Can they pull this off?
That's the million-dollar question.
A lot of moving parts.
The article does point out that some ASEAN nations, like Cambodia and Vietnam, they're already using QR code payment systems.
Yeah, so the groundwork is there in some regions.
Yeah, which could make integration with BRICS pay a lot smoother.
Makes sense, but there are still bound to be challenges.
Oh, absolutely. Like ensuring everything works together seamlessly
Yeah.
and building trust with users.
That's key. Trust is everything in finance.
Couldn't agree more. The potential is there, but it's definitely not a done deal.
So a lot of potential, a lot of challenges. What does it all mean for the average person? That's what I'm wondering.
Right, like how might this massive shakeup in global finance actually affect you and me?
That's the big question.
That's what we're going to explore in the next part of our deep dive.
I'm ready when you are. It's really interesting to think about what this could mean for the U.S. dollar.
Right, like for decades it's been the king.
Yeah, the dominant global reserve currency.
But if BRICS nations start trading more in their own currencies,
Well, that changes things.
big time, what could that kind of shift do to the global economy?
It's tough to say for sure,
Yeah.
but we could see a ripple effect everywhere. Exchange rates, how much things cost, even the U.S.'s influence on the world stage, you know?
So there's potentially a good side for BRICS nations.
More economic independence.
but maybe not so good for the U.S.
Right.
But what about for us regular folks?
Right.
Like, how could BRICS pay impact our everyday lives?
Well, if you're living in a BRICS nation, it might be a good thing.
How so?
Greater financial inclusion. Remember we talked about how India's UPI system reaches everyone, even street vendors? BRICS Pay could make it easier for people to be part of the formal economy, get access to credit, send and receive money, even if they don't have a bank account.
That's a huge deal for a lot of people.
It is.
But like with any big change, there's always two sides to the coin.
Yeah, for sure.
Are there any downsides for everyday people?
I mean, anytime you have a big shakeup in finance, there's a chance things could get messy, right?
Like, what do you mean?
Instability, uncertainty, those kinds of things.
Okay, yeah,
And you never know about those unintended consequences.
that's true.
Like what happens if the system crashes or there's a security breach?
Right, security's got to be a top priority, especially with something this big.
Absolutely. People need to trust the system if they're going to use it.
And that trust takes time to build.
And a real commitment to security.
For sure, for sure.
I mean, we've seen what happens when those big companies get hacked. People lose faith.
Speaking of trust, let's kind of zoom out for a minute.
Okay.
The article says BRICS pays about more than just paying for things. It's about power, you know.
Control, autonomy.
Exactly. It's about who's in charge.
Reshaping the whole global financial order.
That's right. The article highlights three main things BRICS nations are trying to do.
Okay.
First, they want to create a multipolar financial landscape.
Meaning what?
Countries can operate independently,
Ah, I see.
without Western influence.
So they have a seat at the table. They get to make the rules, too.
Exactly. And the second objective is about being financially sovereign.
Okay.
They want their own systems that aren't reliant on Western institutions.
Got it. And that leads to their third goal.
You got it, which is to have more control over their economic activities.
To boost their growth.
Exactly. They think that by controlling their finances, they can better manage their economies and, develop faster.
Makes sense.
So it's not just about paying for stuff, it's a power play.
The big one.
The big question is, will it work?
$1 million question.
Right.
I don't think anyone really knows yet.
Yeah.
There's potential, but...
Huge challenges, too.
Exactly. We're kind of watching this high-stakes game play out.
Right. And we don't know who's going to win.
It's exciting.
But one thing's for sure, things are changing.
The old rules are being thrown out.
And the balance of power is shifting.
Big time. This is important for all of us to pay attention to.
Absolutely. These shifts, they're going to have real-world consequences.
Whether you're an investor or a business owner or just trying to understand what's going on.
It affects all of us, so in the final part of our deep dive, let's think about the future.
Okay, sounds good.
What could happen in the long term, and what does it all mean for you, our listener? We've talked about governments, businesses, but I'm wondering about the cultural side of things.
Oh, interesting.
Could BRICS pay shift global perspectives, where the global South's values start to matter more?
That's a great point. The current system, it was basically shaped by the West after World War II.
Right.
So it makes sense that these new leaders in the global South, they might want something different,
Yeah.
a system that reflects their values,
It's like a whole new way of thinking about money.
Not just about profits and who has the most power,
Yeah.
but fairness, inclusivity, things like that.
Exactly. That's what makes it so fascinating.
It's not just a tech thing.
Just a statement.
It's political, economic. It's, like we said earlier.
A declaration of independence.
Exactly.
But the article also talks about the challenges.
Oh, yeah. Huge ones.
Like actually implementing a system like this across so many different economies.
It's a massive undertaking.
How can they make sure it all works together?
Interoperability, that's the key word.
Right.
Connecting all those different payment systems, currencies, regulations.
Not to mention security, right?
Oh, absolutely. A system this big, it's going to be a target.
It's a huge target.
They have to make it super secure, protect people's data.
And then there's the big question mark, how will the U.S. react?
Right. The U.S. has been on top for so long.
Are they going to try to, fight BRICS pay?
Maybe.
Or will they try to adapt?
It's hard to say, but this has huge geopolitical implications.
It could change everything.
It really could, and we need to pay attention.
You all need to understand what's happening.
Absolutely.
So to bring it back to our listener, what does this mean for you?
That's the big question. If BRICS Pay succeeds, it could mean a world with lots of different power centers, not just the West.
A multipolar world.
Exactly. Maybe the U.S. dollar isn't the only big player anymore.
Right.
Maybe we see a more fair global financial system.
Or maybe things get more unstable.
It's too early to tell, but it's definitely a turning point.
It's like we're at the start of something totally new,
And we don't know what's going to happen.
kind of exciting, kind of scary.
Like getting on a roller coaster,
You don't know what's coming next.
But that's change. It's unpredictable.
But it's a chance to learn, to change with it.
To shape the future.
And that's what we want our listeners to do. Stay informed, stay curious.
The world's changing, and we get to decide what role we play.
I love that. Stay curious. That's what the deep dive is all about. And on that note, I want to leave you with one last thought. If BRICS Pay really takes off, what happens to money itself? How will we pay for things, invest, interact with the global economy? Something to think about as we navigate this crazy world. Until next time, keep diving.